So if you're thinking of doing the Master VOW after reset, you should probably hear these tips first. But wait a minute, if you're that guy that hasn't done the raid yet and you're watching this video to see if maybe you could sneak into a Master VOW and get somebody to just pull you along, don't do that. Just stop by on twitch.tv/Olufemi, where our motto there is RST. Real Sherpas teach. We're gonna get you through that first run so you have a good idea how the mechanics work, and if you have the weapons and the light level to be able to do the master version raid, maybe we'll be doing that with you too soon. So head over there first and don't just become a headache to somebody else's raid. Moving back to the tips though, usually there are 3 ways people plan on getting into these difficult raids. Either you go to LFG and you type something like Master VOG, 300 clears, 1700 light level, know what to do, and you just hope that you get into the right team of people that will just help you get the raid done. Or you visit some streamer on Twitch and he says Master VOW help, will get you the checkpoint, and they just drag you through the raid, you get the loot and they just send you on your way. Or you have a bunch of your friends and you've been doing the raid for a bit and you maybe even practiced, or you've done the Master VOG before together, you have an idea of what you're gonna accomplish and you're gonna try to do it. Well, regardless of which side of that fence you are, these tips that I'm going to give you today should help you get through it a lot easier. Now, if you haven't done a master version of a raid ever before, there's 2 things that I want to tell you that you should use to keep yourself from being on the ground all the time. First thing is blinding grenades. This is super important because if the enemy is blind, it's not shooting at you, which gives you time to do more mechanics or even makes it easier for you to kill it if that's the goal for that encounter. Secondly, similar to that, is stasis on Warlock. The Warlock turrets are just too good when it comes to master versions of raids, mainly because they're probably gonna have the no raider debuff on for the raid, which means you can't see anything as it's coming to you, even though you know where the things are gonna spawn. When things get hectic, it's easier for you to just know that something is coming from your left because you already have a turret that's positioned to be able to start shooting it before you even see it. So blinding grenades, stasis turrets, if you have 1 or 2 of those placed strategically in your fire team, it should go a long way to make things easier for you. Now, there is one thing that we know about Destiny. When they try to make things more difficult, what they do is they just throw in a bunch of champions into the activity. Well, I don't expect it to be different for this one, so these are my picks for you to use for champions in the new raid. For Unstoppable, we have hand cannons and pulse rifles. I think hand cannons are just the better option here because I find that there are a lot better hand cannons in the game, like the Fatebringer Time Lust. If you have that one, that just makes your life easier than using a pulse rifle of some sort. For overloads, I would say please do not use SMGs or ARs. There are options that instantly stun champions, and the SMGs and ARs just take way too long. If you can afford to, either use the grenade mod on your class item or use the divinity. With divinity, not only do you stun the enemy right away, but you give a crit spot and 30% increase in damage for your teammate to be able to help you kill the enemy. Kind of the same thing with the grenade as well. On Void 3.0, you can make your grenades debuff the enemy as well, which means the grenade can stun the champion instantly, keep it stunned, do damage to it, and also weaken it for you to kill it with your other weapons. So there's no reason for you to be using an SMG or another rifle for overload champions. So for barriers, I will suggest Arbalest. It's hands down the best weapon that you can use to defeat barrier champions, because once you break the barrier, you get increase in damage and you get ammo back in your magazine. So you basically are firing for a long time without any stoppage to kill that barrier as quickly as possible. I don't think there's anything more effective than using Arbalest. But if you can't use Arbalest because maybe you want to do more DPS with a certain weapon, then I would say either use an exotic bow. So if you're trying to march the elements, you could use Tikus for the solar enemies, the Monarch for the void, Trinity Ghoul for the arc, things like that. Or you could also use DMT if you have a good roll for that. Another reason I would say you should bring Arbalest is another way that Destiny makes these things more difficult is by putting shields on the enemies, which means you would have to bring in a bunch of different weapons. Like if you wanted to use a hand cannon, you would have to bring Arc, Solar, Void for that specific type of shield when you get into the raid. or you could just bring in Arbalest for those encounters where there are multiple shields, even though if it's a bunch of enemies, the ammo economy on Arbalest wouldn't work and you would still need those different weapons with the different elements. So besides talking about weapons in terms of champions, let's talk about weapons in terms of DPS. What are the good DPS options? Right now, a lot of people have heard about the Palmyra and the Izanagi combination. That's what a lot of people are using, which is really good for burst DPS. However, the rocket launcher can get you killing yourself sometimes, and even though it's really good for burst DPS, there are other options that you could use, like Sleeper Simulant if you have the catalyst. I do believe one of the best options that I've not said yet has to be the Reed's Regret from Trials. If you have the roll that increases your magazine and you have triple tap and firing line on it, because of the Vice perk that's available on that gun, it's hands down one of the best ways you can DPS. Not only because of how much damage it puts out, but because you're also able to get so much ammo from thin air as well. If you don't have that and you've done the VOW raid, maybe you have the Cataclysmic, that one rolls with Force times the Charm and Focus Fury. Not as good as the Reed's Regret, but you still get that 20% increase in damage after you hit 4 shots. So in making your choice, if you just want to be safer, you don't want to lose all your damage because you missed a rocket launcher shot or you missed an Izanagi shot, the linear fusions are really good options there as well that you could bring if you have those. Or maybe you don't have the Reed's Regret, you can do a quick run of VOW and put in some spoils to be able to see if you can get a Cataclysmic. In all, what I'm trying to say is even though the burst damage from the rocket launcher Izanagi combo is good, if you don't have it or you're just trying to stay safer, you could use the linear fusion rifles instead. It does require you to hit more crits. For firing line, you get 20%. For Focus Fury, you get 20% as well. Focus Fury requires you to hit half your mag, which is about 4 shots to get that damage increase, but then the timer refreshes every next 4 hits you get. But firing line, you just need to stay close to your enemies. Something like Caretaker, you're going to be close, you could choose firing line, but something like Rock, where everybody's trying to survive, you might want to use Focus Fury, Sleeper, or the Palmyras with the Izanagi. Now, next thing I wanted to talk about is light level. I think it's about the average of your fire team. For me, I think based off of trying out the DPS in Master VOG, like you guys see in this clip, you would need to have an average light level of 1581. But if the damage is not as crazy, especially because in VOW there's nobody holding the relic like you have to do in Templar, you can have everybody just straight doing DPS, then it should be okay if you're about 76 to 80 on average. Last thing I wanted to talk about was your mods to try to keep yourself alive. Now, some of the most dangerous enemies even right now on the normal version of the raid are the snipers. So you know that those snipers in the new raid might be champions, and sometimes they'll just hit you out of nowhere and they could one-shot you. So to protect yourself from that, make sure you take some defensive mods like Sniper Resist or even Elemental Resist, Solar Arc, Void, things like that to help protect yourself even more. These things should help you not get booted from a fire team, or at least help your fire team to be able to complete the raid or the challenge easier to get that new adept weapon. If you have any suggestions or any things you want to add that could help get through this raid when we get it after reset, you can leave that in the comments below, and I wish you guys all the best in your runs this week. Have a good rest of your day. Peace.